I'm Joni Sussman, the publisher at Carbon Publishing, one of the imprints at Lerner, and I appreciate your taking the time to look at all of our wonderful books for the season. We have 6 picture books, 2 board books, and 3 middle grade novels. It should be a great season for us. The first one is Deborahs Tree, and this is the 3rd in Jane Yolen's Women of the Bible series, after the Sidney Taylor Award winning Miriam at the River and the upcoming book Mrs. Noah's Doves. In this one, Deborah, the judge Deborah, has a gift. She can see the future. As Deborah grows up, so do the date palms that surround her home. Under these trees, people come from far and wide to seek guidance from the great prophetess and judge. In her dreams, Deborah foresees danger to the people of Israel. She summons a general to speak with her beneath the date palms. She tells him, war is coming and you must prepare. For the girl that grew up under the date palms, her moment of destiny has arrived. And this is based on the story of the biblical heroine Deborah. There is beautiful and unusual illustrations by the Japanese illustrator Kosei Kawa. This will be a really beautiful book, and this is the 3rd one in this series. Next. The next book is called The Stars Will Be My Nightlight, a Sukkot story. And in this one, a mom and son are making decorations for their sukkah. The boy has many questions for his mom, including, can we sleep in the sukkah tonight? Which is a Jewish tradition, not if you live in Minnesota, but if you live in places where you can do that. Unsure, the mom says it's going to be cold and dark, and she's worried that it might rain. But the little boy says, but the stars will be my nightlight. And they nestle into the sukkah for the night. Sure enough, the rain comes, and the boy starts to cry because he's scared. But in his mother's arms, he thinks about the Bible story when the Jewish people wandered in the desert with only a sukkah to protect them, which is what the holiday of Sukkot is about. The rain stops, the bugs sing a lullaby, the stars twinkle brightly, and the boy falls asleep. This is a gentle, quiet, lyrical story, beautiful illustrations, and in a world of many single parents, this story celebrates the relationship between a parent and a child. Next, please. The next book is our middle grade novel, sort of an early chapter book, really, called Pinky Bloom and the Case of the Shofar. This is the 3rd in the Pinky Bloom series that has done well. In this one, in the 3rd book in the Pinky Bloom series, Pinky Bloom, Brooklyn's greatest kid detective, is now adding pet sitter to her list of titles. On top of taking care of her friend Lucy's guinea pig and dealing with her annoying little brother Avi, she wants to help her dad, who is supposed to blow the shofar at Rosh Hashanah services, but his shofar won't make a sound. Well, with the high holidays coming up, Pinky has to figure out what is behind the shofar's silence if she doesn't get sidetracked by a missing pet and the suspicious activities of a pet store employee. Next. We have 3 Hanukkah titles. This one is very cute. It's called Tizzy the Dizzy Dreidel. Tizzy the Dreidel has a problem. Spinning makes her dizzy. She feels out of place on Hanukkah and worries she won't be picked when the family plays a game to see which dreidel can spin the longest. But with encouragement from a little girl, a miracle happens, and Tizzy bravely sets out on an 8-day spinning Hanukkah adventure all around the house. She hops over toes, zips under the family pets, plinks her way across the piano, and takes a ride on the hamster wheel, much to the chagrin of the other dreidels in the contest. Sometimes, in order to win, all you need is to know that somebody believes in you. This is a fun and lively Hanukkah story, the sort that tends to do very well in the trade, and it's a story to which little kids can relate. A little dreidel whose job is to spin must overcome the fact that she gets dizzy when she spins, finally realizing that she always had it in her to succeed. I love this story. I love the illustrations. I think it'll do well for us. Next. This is a board book called Hanukkah Nights by the author-illustrator Amalia Hoffman. And in this little book, one by one, 8 bright colors light up the dark Hanukkah nights. Sponge or spatter, scrape or stamp, each light is painted in a unique style. It's a concept Hanukkah book teaching both colors as well as counting from 1 to 8. It has really a unique design and illustration. You can see in the spread here that the author-illustrator has used different kinds of painting techniques for each of the lights on the candle. And then at the back, the final spread teaches the book's interesting and accessible painting techniques to little kids, how they can do different things with different kinds of materials. It really is a neat book. Next. The 3rd Hanukkah title is called Hanukkah in Little Havana. Every December, a little girl in Virginia looks forward to receiving a crate of oranges from her grandparents in Miami. But this year is going to be even better. The family is taking a driving trip to Florida to visit Nona and Nano. Nestled in the back of the family station wagon, they begin their journey to the land of sunshine. Florida is wonderful. At Nona and Nano's house, they pick grapefruit and oranges under the sun. They dance the salsa, play in the waves at the beach, and best of all, they celebrate Hanukkah together. The kids help Nana make latkes and buñuelos, which are stuffed with almonds and guava jelly. It's 8 days of light and love. This is an own voices story by an author with both South American and Eastern European roots who grew up speaking Spanish with her grandparents who lived in Little Havana, in the Little Havana neighborhood of Miami, which is a little known and very interesting Jewish community. The art is by Mexican illustrator Carlos Vélez Aguilera and is lovingly evocative of Miami in the 1950s. You get a sense of it from the sketches, but he's done a beautiful job of detailing the art. I think it'll be really a nice book. Next. This is Professor Buber and his cats. Ketem the cat is looking for a new home. Professor Buber's house looks like a good place to live, but the local cats tell Ketem that the famous writer doesn't want any pets. He once let his cat distract him when a man came to him for advice, say the cats. And since then, no more cats. But Ketem has a plan to make Professor Buber's house his own, and he enlists a group of neighborhood cats to help him. He insists that Professor Buber needs more cats, not fewer cats. The cats can discuss the flies and mice while the professor discusses important things with his guests, free of distraction. This is actually based on a true story of the famous philosopher Martin Buber and his cats. There are lots and lots of cute cats with personalities, and this story introduces kids to this famous Jewish philosopher as part of Carbon's Jewish Heroes collection. The next book, thank you, is Shohams Bengal. This is also an own voices story, very cool. Shoham wears a golden bangle on her wrist, just like her Nana Aziza. Their bangles jingle when they cook and glitter in the sun. When Shoham and her family must leave Iraq, they're allowed to take only one suitcase each, and they may take no jewelry. The Iraqis actually truly didn't let the Jews take any riches out of Iraq with them when they left. Shoham has the important job of carrying Nana's homemade pita bread, which Nana says they will eat when they get to Israel. But when they finally arrive and it's time to eat and Shoham bites into the pita, she encounters something hard. It's her bangle hidden in the dough. This is an own voices story based on the true story of a Jewish family that escapes from Iraq, where Jews are no longer welcome, and moves to Israel, and the grandmother who keeps the child grounded and calm as they prepare to leave their old home for a new land. It's the story of a Sephardic family as opposed to an Ashkenazic Eastern European Jewish one, and these stories are much sought after in both the Jewish and secular communities in this time of we need diverse books. This is also the story of a refugee family that leaves its home under duress and must make its way in a new world, which speaks to today's refugee crisis around the world. Next. This very cute book is called Help a Lot Shabbat. And in this book, it's time to get ready for Shabbat, and this brother-sister team is more than eager to help, which means a fair amount of chaos, getting into mischief, cooking, cleaning, splashing in the sink, chasing the birds. There's so much to do when you're a kid. The fresh challah begs to be nibbled, and oops, there goes the wine. All two-legged and four-legged friends are welcome for Shabbat dinner. The smiling children close their eyes as the grown-ups place a hand on their heads to bless them, and as night descends on the city, the home is cozy and aglow with the special light of Shabbat. This is a really sweet book, and kids will recognize themselves in these youngsters who get into all kinds of shenanigans as they're trying to help their parents prepare for the Friday night dinner. Next. We finished with 2 middle grade novels. So in My Name is Hamburger, Trudy Hamburger is the only Jewish kid living in the small southern town of Coburn in 1962. Nobody else at her school has a father who speaks with a German accent or a last name that means chopped meat. Trudy doesn't want to be the girl who cries when a bully teases her and has to hide in the library to avoid singing Christmas songs in music class. But over the course of a few pivotal months, as Trudy confronts her fears and embraces what she loves, including things that make her different from her classmates, she finally finds a way to say her name with pride. This is written for young kids in an engaging and accessible verse. It features a friendship between Trudy and a Korean-American classmate, drawing parallels between their situations without equating them. And it sensitively depicts issues relevant to the present, including prejudice and bullying. Really a sweet story. And last but not least, The Prince of Steel Pier. This is an extremely cool book. It takes place on the Atlantic City Boardwalk in the summer of 1975, where it isn't easy to be a 13-year-old kid. Joey and his grandparents, Joey is a kid living in that period in time. His grandparents' Jewish hotel is struggling. The city is getting more dangerous by the day, and nobody in his family will take him seriously. So when he gets a job offer from a mobster named Artie Bishop, the so-called King of Steel Pier, he jumps at the chance to prove his mettle. But running with Artie and his crew means questioning everything he sees and deceiving the people he loves most. And when Artie asks Joey for a very dangerous favor that puts his family at risk, Joey must decide what strength really means to him. This was inspired by the author's experience growing up in her grandparents' kosher hotel in Atlantic City, New Jersey. It's got a great taste and feel to it. It's fast-paced, laced with humor, and ultimately full of heart. So that concludes Carbon's season for Fall 22. I think it'll be a good one.